Let's war rolling and let's thug. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.
What's up? We're back. Had to miss last week because unfortunately my home was affected and we lost power and internet by the hurricane. So it's nice to be back. It's nice to have power back. It's nice to be able to reach the world with the the power of the internet. And like I said in chat there, first of all, prayers up to the victims of Hurricane Helene. They need a lot of help over there in all these different states, you know. So anyways, my name's Tyler. Glad to see everybody here. And I'm the host of America First TV. And my co-host here is Atlas Thug. Do you want to let them know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am Atlas Thug, the resident Christian nationalist. Also big black pill dealer, especially with a lot of stuff that's been going on recently. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, Atlas Thug.
All right. So glad you like the new intro. That's awesome there.
Oh, yeah,
I put that up on the screen there to start it off. So we're gonna actually let's see here. Let's go ahead and start with this video. This one was put out by Glenn Beck, and Blaze TV. We'll go ahead and just start it off with getting copyrighted. So all right, let me blow that up and turn the audio down just a little bit. But this is an 8-minute long video. I just play it all the way through, but we'll see.
Well, they have to move
the
out.
moving chair.
Okay.
This is the first one you've seen, right?
In Asheville.
Hey guys. Good. How are you?
What can I do for you?
Well, I'm Glenn, and this is Congressman
Mills. Congressman Mills, how you doing?
We're
man?
just wondering what you guys are up to. What's
Guys, let me know in chat if that audio is loud enough.
Okay.
Activity, so we can do a lot more than we've been doing.
Okay.
Because all of our equipment works now. So they're registering. They're telling them over there. We're over here. I think tomorrow they're moving us over there somewhere more. So I'm not exactly.
And what are you doing?
So
What is it?
Actually registering people for FEMA systems.
Okay, so this is the check
Getting
thing.
them in the system.
Okay.
Not just to check things, housing, checking generators.
Okay.
So so long housing. And
Yeah,
so
good.
much in it, you know.
Good.
But we're basically getting them in the system.
And you guys got here today?
We've been here for 2 days. We got here yesterday. Yesterday, we didn't have any connectivity. So we took 2,800.
I went ahead and cranked it up a bit.
As near as we could count, coming through the food distribution line and through the gas station.
Sounds good to me.
Handed them all flyers. We didn't have flyers to hand them. Our flyers weren't here, but they could take pictures of our flyer. They're told they could go online. They could make a phone call, use your app to go online, just to get them in the system. Also telling them they're going to be here eventually. There'll be a TRC located nearby at the Sector Recovery Center, and then go there for help. But the app is great. The app, they can go on. They can upload documents through the app, so they don't need it.
Can I ask you a question? And not stop. One of the biggest problems, though, is that most people don't have the ability, one, to even get on their phones to verify what is going on. How does people even know that this location exists?
So that would be the news media's job to tell everybody.
But they don't have power.
None of the news media. Well, I mean, I watch the
Well,
news.
no, the people who
Yeah.
the FEMA assistants don't have
Well,
power,
you'd be
so how do they watch
surprised.
TV?
You would be surprised. They sit in their cars to charge their phones and listen to the radio. They're very, very well. That's how they knew the distribution center was here. So they were told to come here to get those supplies, and they don't know where really until they get here. We tell them they see us over there.
But it is plausible, though, that those who won are either cut off from the location because they're still rebuilding roads, obviously, at cable at risk, or doesn't have power, won't know about even where this truck exists, or if it doesn't exist.
Right, and there is no way actually. So we're DSA disaster survivor systems, right? So what we actually do, we work items like these, and we actually go door to door. We go door to door and try to knock on every door in the county, and we go at the direction usually of the emergency manager because the fire chiefs are going to tell us where people are.
Yeah.
They're devastated, so we literally go.
Looks like somebody said
when
to turn
is
it up a little bit.
Okay, I'll turn it up just a little bit. I paused it there for a second too, because I just wanted to point out that this guy just said what they do is they go door to door and they help people. But how are you going to go door to door unless you're on a boat? From the way everything looks right now, and not to mention they're stationed right there in this parking lot and not actually going door to door, or at least this guy isn't himself. I don't know. Just everything seems a little kooky with what's going on. Everybody's dragging their feet. Meanwhile, so many people are missing still, and other people are in dire need of help. So
Would even say, like, where do they charge it? They're kind of going through the list, right? Don't have internet, don't have TVs, and then he points to the fact that they're sitting in their cars to charge them. But then again, it's like, who all still has their car at this point?
Sorry, what'd you say?
I was just going to say, who's still going to have their car at this point, right?
Yeah,
like how many people
if they
still
have a car,
did lose it?
Right. If they have a car, if they're car, had full amount of gas, because once the gas runs out, you can't just sit there in your car and charge it. And I'm sure some of these areas it's still pretty hot during the sunny days, so they're probably relying on the AC too. But
Yeah. Lord knows I would be.
You're talking to Peon Eddie.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not talking. Do you want to talk to my crew? You want to talk to my crew lead? Here, let me get my crew lead for you.
But again, it goes back to my point, which is that, okay, so I need to fill out a form. I need to scan a flyer.
Yeah.
How do I know this exists? Oh, the local media. Okay, well, they don't have power.
Yeah.
They might not have a vehicle.
Right.
So what about
I saw a lot of them washed away.
That's right.
Right.
Hi. Ma'am, how are you?
This is Patricia.
Hi, Patricia. I'm Glenn. This is Congressman.
Mills.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
So we're wondering, we just asked, when do you guys go door to door? He was telling that.
After we get the general stuff done, we got to hit the mass people first, wherever the mass people are. So the mass people are here. Let's get them into the system as quickly as possible. Once we get the masses done, then we start going door to door.
Okay. How do people know you're here?
We just got here.
You just got here?
We were here yesterday.
Yeah.
And today's our first day
Okay.
with this unit.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we're going to move the unit up by the car wash.
Oh. So-
Yesterday we couldn't do anything besides give them the information because we didn't have any Wi-Fi.
Right.
I will say, and this is just someone who's, we got
Okay, so that's the first bit of reasonable explanation that I've heard so far, was that they're also limited by Wi-Fi. So of course, everybody's so dependent on that. But that's where Elon Musk comes in and Starlink. You know what I mean? So there's a whole nother story that we'll get into here in a little bit involving that. But I guess that is a valid reason to have rescue efforts slow down a little bit. But they should have been prepared for that. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy.
Well, the wild thing is, like, they're already showing up late.
Say again?
They're already showing up like a week late.
True that.
So they think like
just got here and
they're still unprepared. Yeah.
Yeah, just got here. Look at all this fancy stuff we got here, and we're gonna go down by the car wash tomorrow. It's like, okay, cool. A little wild.
Seems very, very kind of worthless, in my opinion.
Yeah.
At least with the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go ahead and continue this.
lucky enough, Glenn actually spotted it before I did. But I think even having this vehicle more towards the front of the road where people even know that it exists, for visibility with people coming by, might actually.
Yeah, we were in a van with 8 people. I was the only one that saw it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
No, that's what we're gonna do. That's
Good.
what we gotta do. We just needed a temporary spot to turn around and get things up and running.
Yeah,
And
good.
the guy that's running this facility here I spoke with the manager here. He said this would be a good spot. The guy that's running the parking lot is a different guy. I didn't know that. He said the car wash would be better, and I was like, boy, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Good.
that's where we're going to be.
Yeah, you
set
can get a
up
car wash.
tomorrow.
Good.
And we should be doing registrations. Well, we'll be here between 9 and 10. We're all coming in from Charlotte. He'll be here a little bit earlier, and then we'll start tearing down about 5 o'clock so that we can get out of here.
Great.
Because we don't necessarily go door to door. Not my cadre, anyways. There's 23 different cadres.
Oh, I know. I understand how the bureaucratic levels of departments work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. So
they don't always work
concentrate.
clear together.
Yeah, we concentrate in getting people into the system so that we
Right.
can get them financial assistance right
I
away.
love that.
And it's happening like that. One of
Good.
are you guys recording me?
Yeah, he's filming. Yeah, over here. He's
Okay.
filming us.
So, one of the first things that are coming out is special needs assistance.
Right.
That's just a little bit of into the account.
Duh, I'm Glenn Beck. I'm obviously going to record this.
Right. I feel like nobody knows
Congressman.
who he is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's weird. But, I don't know. They're talking to him, but maybe that's because the congressman is there.
People are going to think automatically that that's all they're going to get. No, that's not the case. That's just the beginning. That is just the beginning, because then there's going to be another much, much larger drop, and then there's going to be other things. But we still have to go through and verify the damages that have been done.
Yeah, yeah.
And that you own the house and that you
Right.
are the
so
renter.
that you can limit the amount of fraud, which we've
Yeah.
seen in other areas. We
We got it.
Trust me.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
We are all from different parts of the United States. I'm from Montana,
I'm from
Are you really?
Florida.
I'm from Texas.
Oh, golly gee. Where are you guys from? Where are you guys from?
I'm from Tennessee. I'm working
Tennessee?
on.
These are official
What
first
a-
day.
Hey,
Bunch of bullcrap that was.
Official first day. We're tucked away almost tight.
No, she's where the masses are. She's where the masses are.
Had to hide the camera, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
but again, it still hasn't answered the question, which is that
Adam
You're
was
in
saying
the
if I
area.
could.
yeah.
No, she was up. She's where the masses are. Did you see the masses lined up? They're not even in the right side of the parking lot. You want to be where the masses are, you put up signs at least, or your stupid little table in front of where the food is.
Yeah, that's funny. Their table was like tucked behind that big vehicle they had parked right there. That's probably the only tree for
Yeah.
shade or something. They're just thinking about their own comfort.
Well, it seemed like they didn't send their best either, right? Like it seemed like that lady was probably well above her 50s. I would imagine the guy they talked to originally was well above her 50s. Like it doesn't seem like people are being sent out to do any kind of, real physical, manual labor, that is.
Right. And these people might just be administrators, but she's talking about getting an early start, and it's like we're 10 days out from this disaster or whatever. I mean, I think we got power back midday, like right at the end of the day last Saturday, and it was down for a few days. So yeah, we're talking 9 or 10 days that this actually happened. I mean, I'm not sure when they filmed this, so I'll at least say that. But
I think it was
They're
on the
definitely-
4th when they filmed this.
when was that?
October 4th, I think is when
Oh,
they filmed it.
Oh, that's just yesterday then. Okay, so still they're
Mhm.
way behind. Let's
Well, to
finish
think
this.
too that they added all like the red tape stuff, right? Like we need to make sure you're the right person who owns this home, and like it's like, dude, my home is. Do you see that pole down there where the shingles you can see like in the river? Like I don't have any verification, right? That seems insane.
Right. Grabbing my wallet was the last thing I thought was the last thing from my mind whenever I was evacuating the house, trying to flee for my life with my family and dogs and cats and everybody else.
Right.
Abigail Shepard says here, Charlie Kirk said he had a lead that said the FEMA officers were told to clock out by 5 p.m. and no working on the weekend. Yeah, as if the disaster relief is a desk job, of course, right? And it is for all these people. They're not in it for their they're not in it working with their heart. They're in it for the paycheck,
Yeah. Unfortunate.
And-
She said, "We
well,
don't."
but then you question. You said when? He
When?
goes, well, that's above my head.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
so let me talk to my manager. Oh my gosh!
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
And then the manager said, "No, we don't go door to door. I don't know when that happens. That's a different department." Oh my god!
You're kidding.
No,
Exactly what we said.
no. This is, that is.
When,
First
when,
day was
when
yesterday.
Glenn went silent, I
Yes.
knew he was done with this.
Oh, I was
nonsense.
done from the very beginning.
I
I
could
could see these guys.
But again, though, you wouldn't have even spotted them, Glenn.
I know. Good eye.
Who knows that they were back here? And again, my recommendation I thought was pretty common sense, which is, hey, for more visibility, maybe you put yourself on the main road.
Yeah.
You want to serve the quote unquote masses. Let's go ahead and get mass visibility.
The food and the stuff is down there. Their truck, which just looks like Communa, it doesn't have a sign, hey, register for money, register for help. Just a communications truck.
Right.
And 2 people sitting at the table.
If you saw that, would you know that you're signed up for FEMA assistance?
I have no idea.
Wow, that's the sign up for FEMA assistance?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That guy didn't even know.
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
it is.
No way.
That's
Put
what they're.
themselves in the quiet corner in the back.
That's right. That's right.
And you ready? They said, we said, how do people know? Well, they're watching TV and they're listening to
It's
radio.
up to the
They don't
media.
have homes.
That's what
That's
they
what he
literally said.
It's up to the
I said, so
media
let me
to
get this
tell
straight.
Goodness.
You got to give
What?
them some credit, though, right? This is America's first natural disaster. We've never seen any kind of thing like this before. You got to give FEMA a chance, right? It's not like Hawaii was ever afflicted by anything in the last.
Right. I mean, Hurricane Katrina was so long ago that, I mean, everybody's been replaced with DEI hires that, you know, I mean, just what a blemish on the federal government, basically, when it comes to this type of stuff. I mean, everybody's been so focused on DEI over the years, and this might possibly just be a accumulation of it. I mean, like you said just a minute ago, these people don't appear to be the best. You know, they didn't send their best. Like, where's the? I don't know. I mean, these people are trying to just facilitate people and get them registered. So maybe that's just people playing their role and their position or whatever. But, you know, and then I don't like talking crap on the individuals, to be honest, because they are there and we're not. And so I hold a little bit of reserve when it comes to that. But at the same time, I don't know. You just have to look at everything through that same scope. Whereas, are these the best people, or were these people, you know, signed up and hired by FEMA because they were more concerned about, you know, people's what they look like, their age group, their sexual orientation, all that type of stuff when they're putting them into place. And, you know, then you got to wonder which is the next kind of aspect of this whole thing, which is there's been the accusations that FEMA, well, it's not even an accusation. Mayorkas, I believe, was it Mayorkas? I might be misquoting the person, but I think it was Mayorkas came out and said that FEMA was pretty much straight up out of funding. They didn't have the funding for the hurricane relief. And when you put 2 and 2 together, the other part of that is FEMA, and this was out of Karine Jean-Pierre's mouth from 2022, that they were using FEMA funds to facilitate illegal immigrants into the country. And that's, you know, by putting them into those 5-star hotels, all the things that we've seen happen, you know, the what is it, $9,000 to $13,000 preloaded debit cards that you don't need an ID to get, all this type of stuff. So that's where FEMA's funds have been going, apparently. And it's like I said, this one is a big blemish because when it comes to actual Americans needing help, doesn't seem like the funds for it is there. And you know, it's funny. I've seen some reports coming out of Florida about Ron DeSantis, some out of Texas about their governor. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but they're actually like they're still accepting federal assistance, but they're in the position because they've run their states so well when it comes to budgeting and preparing for natural disasters, because they know these things happen ahead of time, that they're in the position to not only help their own citizens of their own state, but I know DeSantis is sending crews up into North Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee in order to help. So, you know, it's almost like the federal government is out of money, but yet these states are actually overflowing. I won't say overflowing with cash, but they've just done such a good job with their own budget. Ironically, conservative states, conservative governors, Republican governors, however you want to say it, have a surplus. You know, it seems like, you know, and at the same time, just a couple of days ago, they sent another $8 billion to Ukraine. So, I mean, federal government cares less about the people than they cares less about the American citizens, who are the people that they're supposed to serve first and foremost, than they do, you know, Ukraine fighting against Russians.
Yeah, I mean, to pick up on a couple points there, right? And in terms of with Mayorkas, right? They donated, I think it was like not donated, but they misappropriated, I will say, and I think in what I would also qualify as probably the most treasonous act we've seen from somebody in that position, which would be Mayorkas, was $641 million of FEMA funds was redirected to the migrant crisis, right? So that means anything from like the housing to the prepaid cards that you're talking about. And I will say, yeah, I do agree on the point of like not holding individual conviction and judgment on the people we see here in these videos, especially from the one we just watched with Glenn Beck. But I think when you look at it from the macro perspective, you just, with everything going on, I think it is still fair to be like, hey, FEMA is busted, it's broken, and especially if all these reports of them preventing assistance from occurring, which we'll get into in a little bit, is like, okay, then there's some a real case to be actually be angry with these people, especially if it does turn out, and probably not the ones we just saw in the video. But we do have reports that one of the FEMA directors, a regional director who was sent in North Carolina, was actually beaten by the residents. He was actually aggressively beaten by the residents
Wow.
because he was barking orders and preventing different routes of assistance and donations. So the local residents had enough, and they took it into their own hands. But I think the treason aspect, we have, two large players even spoke to that too. Orrin McIntyre, who's a very popular conservative pundit. He even quoted the specific post that had Mayorkas's like difference in like where the funding was going, called it treason, and then Elon Musk even echoed that. Even it's wild to have Elon say that something is treason, and that's just kind of a linchpin to let a lot of leftists come at him and say, "Look at Elon, he's trying to interfere in the election, this billionaire," and
Right.
being completely ignorant of the fact of people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and so on and so forth. But it's a disgusting situation, and there's so many different avenues to it.
Yeah, I agree. I got this one here pulled up. Let's play this video here. I don't. It's an Elon Musk tweet that I reposted. I can't remember what it is, but it's specifically, but it's Mayorkas talking about the subject. So let's check it out here. I went through and I reposted a bunch of stuff from earlier today to prepare for the show, and then I kind of everything got washed out in the order. So let's go ahead. Like I said, here we go.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris.
I mean, right out of his mouth directly. I mean, it's so funny because we are meeting the needs, but we don't have the money. Like, what? So you're going to print it? What's going on here?
Those two clips were 3 months apart. Only 3 months apart.
It's insane. And then,
yeah, treason.
See, Biden-Harris admin FEMA spending 2023. Let's just go ahead and play the rest of this, I guess. It's only 20 seconds.
Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants. Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Ashley Moody, joins me now. AG Moody, why does the Biden...
She doesn't get the chance to answer before that video runs out. But I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
$1 billion facilitating illegal immigrants that literally broke into the country. Criminals.
Yeah, criminals. I mean, this is the guy who was, I know he was put to an impeachment trial. I'm not sure if it was successful or not. I don't think it was. But this is this is somebody who needs to be held for impeached, obviously, first and foremost.
For multiple reasons.
Exactly. I mean, this is the guy who's in charge of FEMA. This is the guy who's in charge of the border. I think it's not all of border, but he has some border control there. And like a couple other things too, and all of which are four huge cornerstones that are failures.
Yeah, he ignored a federal subpoena when Congress was requesting a congressional subpoena where I know Anna Paulina Luna kind of took the lead on this, and then it kind of fell by the wayside. But she was out there promising that they were going to impeach him or arrest him and throw him in jail based on his rejection in their subpoena, where they wanted to know and see the video of the Robert Hur Joe Biden interview, where Robert Hur was interviewing Joe Biden in order to find out why Joe Biden wasn't being held accountable for the classified documents that he had in his home. And when Robert Hur concluded that Biden was too old and frail to stand court or whatever, basically. And that was all still while the Democrat mainstream media was out there saying that Biden is strong and steady and able to handle the job and all this stuff like that. So it was only.
I mean, you were getting people who were saying like, well, you know, like, I don't think I've seen someone in such a spry shape like Biden. And he's over in the corner like, and it's like, dude, you're lying so hard right now.
Right, for sure. Hey, what's up, TNT Cycles? Good to see you back.
Yes, sir.
So your Mayorkas is a effing ghoul. How dare he give all our money to illegals and wars? Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
yeah. And I put in the outline too to echo that, right? Like you even have two different ones that later down the line. I did share my screen with a funny meme I wanted to show shortly, which I thought was hilarious. Because
I put it up just now.
Because this is Antonio Brown, for those who aren't familiar. You know, Antonio Brown had what would you say, a very dramatic exit the last time he played football in the NFL. He had a lot of like head issues with CTE. But this was him when he left mid-game against the New York Jets and he played for Tampa. But he posted it with the caption saying FEMA when American citizens need help. And so they're just, you know, essentially making fun of himself and saying they're abandoning American citizens.
Right.
But one of the things I did want to point out in that same line of, you know, just treasonous stuff, you have people like Anthony Blinken was talking about how we need to send more money overseas. And then echoing that same sentiment, you have Lindsey Graham, who was like, you know, he was asked directly, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he was asked directly about what's going on with the hurricane. And he's like, yeah, man, I've seen a lot of homeless people. And he goes, but man, if you see what's happening in Israel, we got to go fight over in Israel. And it was like, there's no way that you are this tone deaf and so unaware and so have no idea with what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then to pair that with the fact that you have Secretary Anthony Blinken, who wants to give $157 million to Lebanon in the middle of this crisis, while the nonstop reports come out that we don't have the money, it's just, again, entirely tone deaf. Like, these people need to be tried for treason.
Right. I do not disagree at all. Let's see here. What we got next? Oh, that was it right there. Same thing that you just had up. This is
very top. Yeah, the next one's from Jeff Younger about the FEMA administrator.
Yeah, we're gonna pull that up right now. This is a X post, but switch over. This one is a post on X, and y'all are cracking me up there in chat, by the way. Sharon Gallagher, Biden doesn't know where he is most of the time, and then TNT Cycles. Biden doesn't know where he. Oh, did I read that?
Biden doesn't know he's Biden most of the time.
Well, okay, yeah, I was reading. Mine was on. It doesn't know he's Biden most of the time.
Both are accurate.
Who pooped my pants?
And you need some ice cream.
For real. The Biden administrator locked her account during an emergency, and this is the FEMA chick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Biden Harris appointed director of public affairs for FEMA, former White House climate. Okay, so look at that. She shut down her.
Yeah, made her account private. And I believe.
Play button. Is there something to play there? No. Okay.
No, just a little screenshot there to show that this is who is supposed to be the person that you go to for public responses and things for updates going on with what's happening. And you can't, because she can't bear the flack that she's getting. So she decided to make her account private. I believe that her account was like public for like a couple of days.
That's crazy. Private. I mean, talk about needing a safe space. I mean, just like I said a minute ago, it's got to be, you know, along those lines of a DEI hire. I mean, this person is obviously not the best, most qualified person to hold this position. Is this the
Yeah.
one that I've seen this a couple times? This not the I saw in this chat right here. Is this the Democrat training Navy chick's cousin Trixie running FEMA now? Is this the same person that they're trying to say that they're talking about?
I know that she was a recent appointee, but I know very little about her.
Same here, but I can't help but wonder if that's the same one.
Not to be very insulting, but I am the host of Offensively Accurate.
Yeah.
She does bear not the best or most effeminate presence. So I with what's going on in the last couple of years, it's hard to say if that's a male or a female.
Yeah. But if she, it just a certain scenario there could dictate that or display that a DEI hire essentially. Let's check this one out here. This is a post here from the Trump War Room. North Carolina hurricane victim quote: "It's too late. They took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. It's disgraceful. They keep saying we the people. Nah, there is no we the people. It's them versus us." And that reminds me, actually, I can't remember where I saw it. It might have actually been on Timcast last night, where they tried to, I don't know who it was that authorities tried to prevent like some firefighter dudes or whatever going into one of these areas to give them supplies, and they basically said make us, and they're like, no, we're getting this stuff to these people. And I wish I would have found that. I heard about it last night, and then it kind of went in one ear and out the other because I was in the middle of cooking dinner.
It's hard to keep track of them. There's been multiple of these kind of incidents, and I think that was one they talked about last night. I believe it was 2 days ago that there was rescue efforts going up to, I believe, like some, I don't know if you could call it a mountain, really. Maybe it's a mountain. But this guy was going like he was using a helicopter, like a personal helicopter. And because it's like, air only in these super dangerous areas. And the issue became that he had to do weight distribution, so you can only take a few people at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at one point, the authorities did figure out what he was doing that. And so they told him like, hey, you need to stop this immediately. But when they had told him that, he had just left his son at the top with the last individual who was up there. And so they told him, they literally threatened him with arrest and said, if you get anyone else but your son, like we will arrest you. So then he went back up, got his son, and then had to leave the other individual like by themselves.
Yeah. I heard
so
that.
again, it's just like it's not commonsensical, especially when you look at the video we just saw with how FEMA was very unprepared. It's like, you really think you're in the position to be telling people like we can't be helping people? It's like, guys, who's been struggling for 20 minutes to put up a plastic table over there? Like, we got it. Like, we're
Didn't
good.
even have a sign that said sign up here. I didn't see that anywhere. I mean, they didn't pan the camera around so often, but you'd think there would be streamers, signs, all kinds of stuff this way, or arrows. I mean, something.
Right. Like bright yellow, like the traffic colors and stuff. You would think they'd be having that everywhere, right? Like make it super easily visible, orange, neon, all this kind of reflective gear.
All those people should be wearing some type of like, official, I mean, not even official, just like, hey, I'm bright, I'm over here, I'm a person you can come check in with, see them across the parking lot. I'm like, oh, that's the area over there. Yeah, so true.
No, but the Trump War Room, the video we're about to play, the only one thing I wanted to say before we watched it was this sentiment, it has gone very quickly from, okay, the government's just trash, incompetent, whatever, to like, I think most people on the ground in these areas who have been there and are actually dealing with this are like, dude, this is way beyond incompetence. Like this has to be malicious. Like these people are doing everything on their power to just be in our way, prevent us from helping. And then now you get these guys who are like, hey, dude, I'm not going to play games anymore. And that's where you're going to get this sentiment from this guy who's saying it's them versus us. And I've probably seen at least now 8 to 9 different viral videos with well over 1 million views in different threads of people echoing the same sentiment. Someone from Western Asheville, and then you'll have somebody from the southern portion of Southern Carolina, like all these different areas coming out and kind of saying the same exact things.
Yeah, and you just reminded me, apparently, and I haven't verified this, but from what I understand, They are sorry, I bumped the microphone. Hope that wasn't too loud. But
Mhm.
from what I understand, there's vendors, specific vendors that they're supposed to use when they're providing these supplies. And it's like, since when has that become a thing? It's just such a corporate sponsored, like hurricane relief, natural disaster relief has become corporate sponsored events where powered by Pepsi or whatever. It's just so stupid. Like get the water to the people, the fresh water. I don't care who makes it, who bottled it. You know, the people need it, get it to them. It's just crazy, but let's go ahead and
Well,
this.
yeah,
Go
we can
ahead.
watch that one. I was just gonna say, I actually have there's a former, I think he's a former firefighter. He, he's done a lot of rescue missions in the past. I believe he actually says in this long post that he made that he did stuff with Hawaii as well. And he says that that is true. There is a preferred vendor list. So a lot of this relates to the fact of FEMA won't allow it unless they can get financial kickbacks for giving out the money. So again, it's like one of these like follow the money kind of trails type things. So maybe it's not completely. I mean, I would say that's nefarious in and of itself. Um, but if that's the only ground they're denying aid is to make sure that they can, make money on it or put it in some kind of for whatever means, really, honestly. I mean, it's just disturbing. It's just outright evil.
Right. And it's crazy because, like price gouging on bottled water and all that type of stuff is completely illegal. There's been these laws. I've lived in Florida long enough to know, like you might not realize this if you're not affected by natural disasters regularly, but it is illegal for them to make a bottled water cost 1 cent higher than it should because it's in demand. Because it's obviously things are going to become in demand when natural disasters are looming or even after it. And so corporate greed, people in the past have said, oh, well, we can charge $5 for a bottle of water now and people will buy it because they need it so bad. That's illegal. So then you would think that forcing people to use these corporate sponsored type, things would be also illegal. But I don't know, I guess if you're a lobbyist, you pay the government enough money, pay the right person enough money, then get away with stuff that we can't get away with.
Yep.
See here, we got a comment here. The Clintons stole money from Katrina, FEMA, in her 2016 for her 2016 campaign. Kamala's probably going to do the same with illegals as an excuse. Yeah, probably. And ironically, I'm sure there's illegals that are affected by this in the past, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not heavily, densely populated areas, but they only care as far as trying to expedite these people so they can turn big cities in swing states blue.
Yeah.
Let's play
Anyone
this.
but the American people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that Elon Musk has been all over lately too. It's really nice to have that guy on our side right now. I gotta say.
Right. Yeah.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long.
Oh,
it took them 5 days to get here. And I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see us himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. I mean, they keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us. So they're not for us. It's all about them. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us.
Yeah. And you can see the emotion and hear it in his voice when he talks about that right there, and he's disappointed. And if this guy was a Biden voting Democrat beforehand, I promise you he's not today. Promise you he's not today.
What's funny, I mean, that's not funny, obviously, but people even pointed out, ironic, yeah. Making like new maps, but like instead of like it's saying North Carolina and South Carolina, it says Lebanon and Ukraine.
Oh, I saw that. That was hilarious.
Like,
and maybe
we'll
this
do whatever it takes.
Spend some money there. Yeah. North Carolina said Ukraine across it. That's the one that I saw.
Yeah, it's just egregious, man. My heart kind of bleeds out for these people because the only support they are getting is by the pure meritocracy and the goodwill and faith of people who do have the ability to, like, whether it's through jet skis or boats or they have, personal helicopters or something like that. That's the only way for the majority of these individuals that are getting any sort of aid, especially with like Nick Sortor and Starlink. And that could be one of the next things we go to, which, Joe Biden tried to take credit for that. Joe Biden tried to say that they were the ones who put the it put the Starlink installments in there to get people the internet. And then, Nick Sortor makes a funny a post to follow it up because he already, went at Biden for lying about it. But he makes this funny post where he changes the Wi-Fi router name to non-FEMA Wi-Fi. Because he's like, I want people to know, like, this is not coming from the government. Like, these people are not here to help you out.
That's hilarious. Wow. I wanted to ask people real quick, if you're watching, you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. It kind of helps send the algorithm the message that folks want to watch. So anyways, wanted to mention that. But I see here TNT Cycle says that Lebanon money seriously pisses me off. Yeah, and it should. That's just crazy. Just basically funding both sides of every war is a pretty wild thing to do. And it says adds to it all it does, but it's salt in the wound. It really is. That's crazy. I mean, you wouldn't have seen Trump send Iran a bunch of money after he took out those two leaders of ISIS or whatever it was. I think it was ISIS, Soleimani and al-Baghdadi. You didn't see any funds going there to support that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was you F around, you find out. No, I pulled up this post here real quick. Why is it? Oh, I see. Okay. It's like it's not the one on my screen on that screen. There we go. Had to move the tab. Prester Khan, not sure who that is, but I'm not sure. I'm sure a lot has been speculated about what's going on in Western North Carolina, not the. I'm a resident, one who has just now got enough of a signal to access the internet for more than a minute or two at a time. I'll explain. Okay, he goes on a long thing here. Okay, well,
this is like 6 million views. It's like a private citizen you got internet.
Yeah, 7.7 thousand on this. But some of these other ones are that number's off. Oh, those are bookmarks.
Yeah.
Because there's 606,000 right here on this one. But utterly devastated, obviously, is the state we're in. Were it not for the good old boys borrowing tractors and backhoes, siphoning diesel, and filling up chainsaws, would have been stuck for days or weeks longer than we were. Yeah, and that's another thing is clearing the roads, clearing the paths. That's a big thing in a lot of I've seen it down here as well. But we sure as hell didn't have any state or federal assets coming to help. Our own government didn't bother to declare the state of emergency until 3 days in. Around 70% of aid is going to the Asheville area. Forgotten are we mountain folk? And that Asheville thing is another story I'll briefly get into just for a second. I saw a video from a guy who does trucking. He's like a contract for hire trucker. And excuse me. And he was looking at like these broker sites, these apps where they go and they basically find their jobs. And there was less than 10. And he was putting in different states or different cities that were like within 250 miles of Asheville. And there was like zero. I won't say zero exactly, but less than 10 like jobs per hire for these guys that are doing what he's doing to actually bring supplies into that area. There's like nothing on the way. It was crazy how few. You think that and he mentioned it that usually for truckers, natural disasters is big bucks or whatever. It's get to work and supply and demand type things, and there was nothing. And the ones that he was showing were like paying $450, like not hardly paying anything, which seems just so low on the priority. It's crazy.
It seems very suspicious because you're saying that he was looking for like a hub to go drop off supplies at.
Right, because like he has like a truck and a big giant trailer, and he can haul on his trailer heavy equipment, as many boxes as his trailer can carry. It was a big trailer, like one that would take a loader or something like that, or a backhoe, you know what I mean? Something fairly good size. And they go on these websites to look for jobs, for hire, because they're contractors for hire. They don't work for any specific like agency. And so there's these brokers is what he called it. And sorry. And just the options, it's kind of like a logistics type of thing maybe or whatever, but the options for him to take the jobs, like there was a list of less than 10 jobs for him to go and actually like, yeah, I'll take that one and select it. And then that would be his route. He'd go to wherever, fill up with whatever they were trying to send in, and then take it. And then he gets paid, whatever they're opting to pay. And, that's not my realm, but from what he was showing, it seemed like $450, $1,200. And it's like, you're talking about a 250-mile route or less, but because he was searching within 250 miles of Asheville. And it's just like, dang, how is there no supplies like of any kind going in, heavy equipment, anything? And it's probably all because it's subsidized. Like, you know what I mean? It's proprietary companies only get to bring that type of stuff in, or I don't know. So where it's like the helicopter thing you were talking about, where they're telling the guy he can't use his own helicopter and his own skills to rescue people. They needed to use official equipment, or whatever. And just
right. Well, like I saw in a video earlier, dude, I think the sentiment needs to be like, I don't need permission from the government to go help other people. Right. Like, it's like at that point, it's like, dude, you have no authority here. You just showed up. It's like, where are you from, dude? You just come from California. It's like, yeah, dude, how about you stand there and help me or get out of the way?
Right. We read these last two comments real quick. I got to take a drink.
Oh, yeah. It says, TN Cycles says, they charge by the mile. In events like this, they can demand much higher fees. And then this last one that he said says, instead of 0.6 a mile or 60 cents a mile, it's $2.50 a mile, for example. And speaking of, I'd actually, because I was recently, I made a job change here recently. I do know what the exact thing that you're talking about, which actually has turned into, they've Uberified, I guess is the best way to say it. They've the Uberification, right? Is a better way to say it probably, of freight and semis. So a lot of these individual contractors who have their own semis actually essentially kind of use a much more Uber app instead of doing like specific contracts for specific vendors for specific locations over a long enough period of time. It's actually more so they'll see like how you were describing. They'll see a list of jobs and it would tell them, this is what the payout will be. This is what the mileage will be. And so maybe that's another reason why, maybe they have a bit more control over things since it's now centralized under a different application. It's not Uber that's doing it. I can't think of the company name. It's not coming to mind right now. Like it could be like Amazon FTX or something like that. I did recently watch a thing about that where truck drivers are now essentially getting like, they can sit in their home and then it'll be like ding, and it's like for $700 you can take a 2-day trip from Indiana to Pennsylvania, and it's like do this or whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of a similar type scenario like that is what this guy was explaining. He was showing his screen and everything. So, I mean, he was like verifying it, and he even had a YouTube channel. I'd shout it out. I'd play the video if I'd have saved it. I might have. I'm sure that's something I would have reposted. I'm at Worrell on X if you guys want to come check it out too. A little bit more free over there to say what you really want and share what you want to than you are on YouTube. You want to shout out yours real quick while I scroll through this?
Yeah, I am at Atlas_thugged_. Had to do that because I could not buy the actual title from the original Twitter handle holder. Well, rather they didn't. They wouldn't respond to my messages. So I think it's somebody who made an account and then just disappeared.
Yeah, so no, I must not have reposted it because it's back a couple days already. Dang it.
Which one were you looking for specifically?
That video that I was just trying to describe of the truck guy that
the truck driver
brings stuff in. Got too many tabs open.
I know. I always close them out because I fear my computer's going to start catching on fire.
Right.
Too many tabs open.
That's one thing that I do have going for me is this computer can handle a lot. But let me go back and I'll finish this guy's tweet up. Ended at Asheville area. So we that have lost more people than we know of yet. I think he meant to say we have lost more people than we know of yet. We have lost family, friends, homes, and businesses save a single Border Patrol car, some National Guard trucks and helicopters, and Forest Service personnel. The real help that I've seen has been that of volunteers. And, like we've mentioned, they're really trying to lock down and stop the volunteer help, which is crazy. Even if it's from qualified people, if you're a firefighter, a lot of those people are ex-military, and what I mean. So it's just crazy to think that those people wouldn't be able to go in and help if they wanted to. But
right,
that's not only a disservice to us, but to you as well. My hometown is Spruce Pine, which is located about an hour from Asheville. What many of you don't know is that the world's economy relies on my small town. We mine the purest quartz on Earth, which that gets into the whole other conspiracy theory that they directed this storm over certain areas so that because the government's been trying to buy this land, which, like I said, that's a whole nother story. But I do know, I'm gonna interject again. I do know from personal experience, not directly personal, but I have a friend who grandmother owned a bunch of land. It was formerly a landfill that had been capped off, and she, it was hers, right? And she was getting residual paychecks, but then it stopped whenever they capped it off because it was full. But then the government wanted to buy the property, and she didn't want to sell it, so they raised the property tax and basically forced her to sell the land so that she could pay the property tax. And guess who ended up with it? The government. It wasn't somebody with money that actually came in and was able to swoop it. But back to this real quick. Just had to share that little personal story because they do stuff like that. And then the quartz becomes the silica that we refined in 99.99% purity. This is what I do when I go to work every day. The refined silica goes into chips in your cell phones, TVs, solar panels, and long list of etc. Down the mountain in the county next door, in the town of Marion, is the Baxter plant. Baxter is responsible for 80% of the IV bags used in every hospital across the country. What you should all be asking yourselves is why the state and federal government assistance was not here in these small towns immediately following the disaster. The carnage, destruction, and looting in places like Asheville make for good news stories, but the real story is here. Most among the descendants of the Scottish and the Irish who settled these lands that remained reminded them of their own. Okay, sorry. The settlement of these lands that reminded them of their own. I think this person's first language might not be English, so we're adding some stuff in there. I don't know. But the rugged individuals who helped shape this country and who still take care of their own is our story, but it affects not only us, it affects us all. And he gives some shout outs and stuff like that. So that's interesting because, like he said originally, that these places are actually important to not just the locals there, but the national, everybody in the country as well because of what they produce.
This kind of makes me think, reminisce a little bit of, you remember in the beginning of COVID, when we very quickly realized just how little we actually manufactured what we needed in emergency time during COVID. I think it was things like, medicine. It was other things such as I think it was even just basic over-the-counter medications and things of that nature. And all of a sudden, when everything shuts down, we're like, wait a minute, we don't even have the capacity to be shut down for this long because we don't have enough stuff. And Sokka's 100% right. I moved to a much further position, which I find this to be a lot more of maliciousness. I really don't view it as incompetence. Now, to say I'm fully bought in on they generated this hurricane and pushed it right at the Carolinas for the land grab. No, I can't really go that far, especially because I lack the expertise to be maybe they did use the specific thing here, but I've seen many people point to that. But yeah, this one that you pulled up here is the, Nick Sortor making sure that they're not going to steal credit for putting up Starlink for internet access.
Is that the same one that you had staged here?
Yep. Same post there.
Okay.
Because if you go to the quoted one in there, that's the response to Joe Biden taking credit, and you can see the tweet from Joe Biden in the quoted one, where you can see President Biden in that where it's highlighted there in red. talking about how we've deployed 67 Starlink satellites when really that's entirely fake. Nick Sortor, Raw's alerts, and there's a third guy involved. And forgive me because I can't remember his name. He's also probably a pretty big guy there. They went in an operation almost on day one. I think it's actually day two. And they bought and started setting out a bunch of Starlink in different areas as they were making their way through some of the worstly affected places. But of course, you get into, immediately Joe Biden's like, "Oh, that was us. Yeah, aren't you guys glad we give you internet?" and so it's just funny because Nick Sortor then starts naming all the Wi-Fi links and the routers, non-FEMA, not government, because like this is what you have to do because your government doesn't do anything for you. I think it actually speaks to more to the malicious aspect, right? You would think if the government was incompetent, they would own up to that fact. But again, I don't expect the government to be transparent and just be like, "Hey, man, big thanks to these guys, and this is the moment to like reach across the aisle, right? Like it's a natural disaster. It's affecting a lot of people, but can't miss an opportunity to make things as political as possible, right? You can't miss an opportunity to make sure that there's like, oh, there's this side of the aisle, that side of the aisle. And that's why I kind of result back to, and use Occam's razor a little bit. And I think the same thing applies to the assassination attempt with Donald Trump the first time, which is like, like you can't look at, oh, this guy missed that window, that guy was supposed to be there, and that guy was supposed to be there, and then they missed the drone earlier, and then they missed that. And to sit there and think like it was all of these bad coincidences that led up to that, it's harder to believe than somebody gave some kind of order or put something in motion to negatively affect the outcome.
Mm-hmm. I see it's a sock. I'm not into weather control conspiracies, but I think they purposely held back aid. I think that's becoming the consensus that everybody's agreeing on here. And then now you have internet to apply for your $750, which not everybody even has, and it's just so crazy. And Abigail Shepard just said, "It's easy to believe they're letting these people suffer because they're red areas for sure." Yeah, that's a good point as well.
Well, dude, to speak to that too, I don't know if you've seen any of these. I've seen multiple videos of people being glad of what's happening to these areas. People are like, they're like, they'll say things like, "Well, it's happening in a sundown town," and they're making it about race. They're almost giddy at the fact that, their people are suffering because they have different politics than them, which I think actually goes back and speaks more to like just how truly authoritarian the left is, although they do their best to hide it. If they were given the chance and had the power to shut these people down, with a hurricane, they would do it in an instant. It's very, very disgusting.
Right. She added here multiple TikToks of young females cackling that these people are dying. That's insane. And the say the left, they just have no shame. A lot of these people were hoping that the bullet would have been an inch to the right, a month or two ago in relationship to Donald Trump being nearly assassinated. Sorry, my little yapper dog she's going deaf and she doesn't realize how loud
he's trying to tell you how much he hates the left.
She's like, I agree. Get him. I think she just went outside. The party of joy. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. The party of joy. All the women out there named Joy are like, don't bring me into it.
I think we're like 30 days away from the election now.
Yeah. Yeah. What day is the election? Is it the 3rd or the 5th?
I think it's the 5th.
Probably the 4th.
Yeah. We're both wrong.
So let's look at this one here. This is a post from Alex Jones.
Yep.
Sorry, I keep having to cough and clear my throat.
Oh, you're fine.
Stuck in there. But they're literally at war with the American people. This is not incompetence. It's all deliberate. It's a technocracy. The system can bureaucratically kill you and pretend they're not involved. And that's a word that I've heard him use a lot over the last couple of years. And that's so true. It's a technocracy. It's all the big corporate, technological companies and just basically big tech in conjunction with the Democrat ran government, all these partnerships that they have. And that's a good way to explain it with, what I've been saying about how these things are all, subsidized or whatever.
And this is the individual we were talking about earlier who should
Right. Here's a
turned
bigger
down
picture.
with FEMA.
Here's a bigger picture of her.
It's a big nose, is what it is.
Yeah. Looks like she might have
Again, not trying to be offensive, but to speak to the fact of like, is this what the one commenter said? Is this like the trans Dixie person? I don't know.
Right.
But possibly.
Right, possibly. Or is this person maybe more loyal to one of them countries in the Middle East? Ben Shapiro's favorite country, we'll call it.
I
Right, that's
would.
enough of that.
I would wager yes.
This is a cool story here from Daily Mail, actually. Just today, Elon Musk jumped on stage to join Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, as he reenacts ex-president's fight, fight, fight moment in front of a mammoth Super Bowl-sized crowd of, it was 60,000 people, by the way. That's a little side note. Just closed that tab and saw that.
Oh, yeah. With the rally, I actually grabbed a good video from, I think, Benny Johnson.
That's awesome. From what I understand, that Kamala had a rally today too, and it only had 5,000 people show up. And that was the picture that I showed actually had like 17, but it got community noted and said there was 5,000. So we'll go with the community notes, but still 5,000 compared to 60,000. I mean, come on.
Right.
Come on.
But again, you don't have Megan Thee Stallion there. How's she going to get people there without Megan Thee Stallion or insert any other, high profile black rapper girl boss?
For real. For real. So this is a post from Foxy Farmer. Hunter Wilson drove $10,000 of supplies into Black County Mountain yesterday. His account is honest but very hard to listen to. I'm glad to hear the National Guard is running helicopters there now. This man cannot process what he just saw. He's in complete shock. I haven't seen this. It's 6.5 minutes long. Is it worth playing the whole thing? Have you checked it?
You probably don't have to get the whole thing. He pretty much covers a good bit of it in the first couple minutes or so, because it's essentially more just of the reason why I wanted to, I guess, like proliferate it with a bunch of these personal accounts is because exactly what we talked about earlier, which was just the technocracy and what Alex Jones was saying, is anywhere besides X, they are saying, no, that's not happening. People are completely fine. Like, what do you mean? And then you just see video after video after video after video of like people crying, like guys like weeping, being like, dude, what is going on? That is why I just wanted to have a bunch of these in here. Now his is more like to the point. He's very concise with what he's trying to point out.
I've heard that TikTok has actually been pretty decent at covering this, ironically.
Well, to speak to that, TikTok has actually kind of laxed its rules ever since America wanted to try to go ahead and ban it. It's actually kind of been a noticeable trend that they're like, you know what? We weren't going to censor anybody, dude. Free reign, which is kind of funny because I think it speaks to the fact that TikTok is an actual kind of weapon being used in some form, with the fifth generational warfare.
Yeah.
Psychological warfare, everything that's entailed in that.
Yeah. And then we got this one here from Abigail Shepard. Her funds are going towards her $770 belt and $1,000 jewelry. Yeah, that's true. What she wore, it was either $600. No, I'm sorry. It was an $800 pair of earrings to the debate. And that's if those earrings weren't the ones that actually are like sound transmitters that was having information fed to her. So one or the other. So out of touch with the people that she claims she's, she doesn't have to still be middle class, but if you're trying to connect with middle class, you don't show up wearing a $700 belt and $800 earrings to anything.
Right.
So
well, what's funny is,
meanwhile, Trump is out here putting ketchup on the steak, connecting to the people.
Right. It was her last rally though. She had a belt that was, I think that, what do they use it? There's like some kind of app you can use where you can like take a photo of like this clothing this person's wearing, and Amazon will pull it up and tell you how much it is. Well, somebody did that to her while she was at her latest rally.
Oh wow.
And her belt was it was $770, which is more than what they're giving out to people who are stuck in need aid during this trying time. Now, obviously, and that's still another way to show. I think more insane is all of the foreign aid being, and by the millions being pumped out while this is going on.
Right. TNT Cycles said that this is actually worth playing the whole video for. So as long as he's cooking, we'll go ahead and let it play. He said this brother has shell shock. I think he's talking about the guy in the video here. And then just a guy said even Fox News is ignoring this for the most part as well, which is to your point there. And then TNT Cycle says a $63,000 necklace. Is that for real? She was wearing? No way. I mean, I can't say no way because
I wouldn't doubt it.
I believe it.
Listen, I believe
It's
TNT
so
Cycles
crazy.
over any reporter I'll ever see for as long as I live.
For
Like
real.
that's where the credibility of the media is. I will believe this guy's picture of a dog before I believe anything else.
For real. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this. I'm going to blow it up. Make it bigger. Not blowing it up.
Yeah, in Minecraft.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what a fucking war zone looks like.
Okay, so we talked at the beginning, so here we go.
Seen a war zone, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what a fucking war zone looks like. Guys, whole parking lot's gone. 15-foot sinkholes that would swallow 4 or 5 semis side by side. Houses sitting in parking lots. Houses filled to the top. Can't see nothing but the roof with sand and mud around it. Fucking cars by the hundreds in trees piled up on top of each other. Semis in the center of the river. I mean, 400 or 500 yards from any given road or anything. Guys, it's fucked. It is fucked. You want to argue with me about our government doing something? I will argue tooth and nail with you because I seen this shit firsthand. Talk to the people. Talk to them. When I got to finally, after the third spot I went to try to drop donations off, because it's not because they didn't want it. It's because they had so much influx of material, they couldn't take it. I found a nonprofit group up there that needed everything. The good Lord up above led me to that place. But I asked one of the guys, he was real quiet, didn't say much. But I started asking him questions, and I finally told him, I said, man, I'm not trying to get personal. I'm trying to figure out how bad this is. What I just drove through was horrible. I said, they're saying just a couple hundred people on the news and social media. He looked at me and just, his face head kind of drooped, and he started choking up. I put my hand on his back. I said, buddy, we're doing all we can do. He said, I've talked to people and they're pulling people out of houses about an hour. Just they couldn't get out. The water took them in, trapped them in. Then the silt filled in. They're there. You go down through there and there's just houses with big X's on them or check marks on them. I don't know what the X's mean. I don't want to fucking know what the X's mean, but I'm hoping the check mark means that they're good, that there's nobody in there. That, I mean,
I'm sure that probably means that it's been checked. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to go back in here. It's been checked or cleared or whatever, regardless of the situation. Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. Every bridge almost is wiped out. Everybody's saying, you know, I'm a one-man band. I'm trying to do all I can fucking do. And, you know, it kind of gets under my skin. People saying, you need to be here. You need to try to get there. You cannot fucking get here and there. It is impossible. Take it from me. I looked at it. I went off a little side street just trying to drop off material, and I went up a road about 2 miles, and I was met with a fucking road that didn't exist no more because of a landslide. It was not there. I had to back about a quarter mile out of there to an adjacent road so I could turn around a 30-foot trailer that was loaded. ATVs, dirt bikes, they're not getting in there. The only hope them people have is our National Guard or somebody with fucking helicopters. You turn off an I-40, it was like a 50-acre field with nothing but helicopters. And, you know, everybody jokes about, oh, that must be what Nam sounds like. I promise you that's what fucking Nam sounds like. The whole time it was nothing but helicopters coming, leaving, coming, leaving. Helicopters would just be sitting there hovering, waiting for another one to take off. And when these helicopters would land, that little area I seen, they had 3 fucking skid steers coming across wide the fuck open. The helicopter would barely be touching down, and the skid steer would be pulling up right beside it, and there'd be somebody behind them in a buggy, and they would just get out, and one guy would run over there, and there would be a truck pull up with a big ass fucking tank on there, and they'd start pumping fuel. Them guys would start just loading shit. Pilots never even took their helmets off. Just slid the doors open, started packing shit in there, slid the doors back shut. I watched one of them. It took about 10 minutes, and not a single fucking government plane was there. All of those that I seen was all personal. Not the first markings on them. 2 of them looked like old retired Coast Guard helicopters. They were orange and white, but didn't have Coast Guard or nothing on them. Big ass helicopters. Fold out running gear. People just standing on the side of the road just looking. I mean, I had to sit there and just, once we got to where it's going, I told the guys that you just unload the trailer, it'll be fine. If you scratch it, do it. It's a farm trailer. Don't worry about it. I'll fix whatever's, I just had to kind of walk around and just look, and it's fucking gone. Like, that place is not, there's no recovering from that. Like, the banks are, there's no, where the town used to be, it's just boulders, log piles, log jams. I mean, there's no cleaning that up. That's 10 years in the making to get it even back half of what it was. But guys, what you're seeing on the news is nothing compared to what the fuck's going on up there. Them people are fucking hurting. I'm a one-man band. I'm doing all I can. We're going again Saturday, but our government's not doing shit. FEMA might be there. If they just released today, FEMA does not have the funds. We had the funds to fucking help immigrants, but not the fucking own American people. Guys, I'm going to go in here and try to get some bed. I love every single one of y'all. We're going to get another trailer loaded tomorrow and do it all again Saturday. So the donations just keep coming. I'm just tired, guys. I'm just tired. I want to go to sleep. Every time I start to go to sleep, I pull out my phone. I start looking at stuff. I'm like, Hunter, you can be doing something. You can be doing something. You can be doing something. And I'm thinking about, like, what can I go do? What can I go do? It's just heartbreaking. But I love every single one of y'all.
Dang.
To add on to what he said there, I did see a report even from Colin Rugg saying that there was this particular tree. This tree was at a bend point where the water was kind of getting it kind of hitting like a 90-degree angle. So the water was hitting really hard where this big tree was at, and it was kind of banked up, and the water was continuing down a different way. When it died down, there were reports that they had to pull over 60 individual bodies from the tree itself, different bodies hanging from different portions of the tree, stuck on different parts of the limbs. And I have seen plenty of things speaking to the fact that all of the estimates of the death count are way, way, way underreported. And the one thing that I will say, it's still a little bit on a different note, that endpoint there, right, where he kind of compares what's happening there to the immigrants. This is going to be something that's going to drive a lot of tension among people, especially of those who are directly firsthand affected by that, because when you do see the comparison of people walking over and not having to pay rent, being given free housing, $9,000 prepaid credit cards, and then all of a sudden the government's nowhere to be found, they're doing all these just, bureaucratic red tape ways to sign up for $700. It's going to make people become extremely hateful towards different groups because of what the government's doing. Now, to say that anger is misplaced it's going to not find the active listening ears of these individuals because they are extremely hurt. But it's to speak towards the fact that this is why people need to be vigilant in terms of holding the government accountable for these actions, which is why, there needs to be immediate moves to impeach and get rid of and fire and outright jail a lot of the individuals who are at the heads of these organizations that are allowing this to happen. And, and not even just on the aspect of not moving soon enough, But more so like what we talked about at the beginning, which was the misappropriation of FEMA funds. You know, FEMA is a majority organization meant to assist people in major disasters, but over, you think it was like over like 70% of their entire budget was directed towards people who came here illegally, who were criminals in the first place. It just doesn't fly. I mean, at this point, it's like what you should do with those final amount of resources is go find the people you gave these $9,000 prepaid cards, kick their door down, and take it from them, and go give it to the American people who deserve this funding, whose taxes go and pay for this funding, who've probably spent every living working wage hour paying into these programs to only not be given the benefit of them when they need it the most. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I see on the horizon some very, very dark, you know, tensions, and I imagine this is going to play out well into the election because, you know, these people's lives have forever changed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I just see this chat here from TNT Cycles, and it popped in my head right as he said this. And, you know, send the Haitians to clear the road, earn their way to prove they care about America, or go. I was just thinking, I mean, what a good way for these folks to actually prove that they care about what goes on in this country, and that they're not just here to take from our country and take from the you know, the Americans that are born here. They didn't flee their hometowns, didn't flee their home countries. For them to step up and say, hey, you know, this is our opportunity to go and actually help and really affect the country that I want to be a part of, you know, and I wouldn't say that to earn their citizenship, but, you know, I would be more inclined to support these folks a little bit more were they, you know, stepping up and saying, yo, put me on a bus to get here. I'm actually a carpenter. I'm actually able to drive heavy machinery. I'm actually a pilot, you know, which I feel like if you're that qualified as a pilot, you're probably not sneaking into another country. But,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, we just imported a basically multi-million man army, a workforce, essentially, put them to work. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with
they
that.
all have this app that, you know, helps them facilitate their immigration into the country. You know, we'll send out an Amber Alert across this app, you know, an Amber Alert type thing or whatever, you know, we all get them on our phones. That's why I use that as a reference, but send it out and say, hey, yo, we need volunteers to step up, and we really highly recommend that you show up here and help in however you can, you know, and I don't know.
Show up or get deported. That's what
Right.
it should say. Show
Right.
up or you'll get deported. Like,
Right. I mean, just crazy.
but that's
Yeah.
why I think it sucks too, because it's like everyone's going to be angry at the immigrants, I think, more so than like the people who allowed this invasion to happen in the first place. And that's what I meant by like the misplaced anger. It's like, yeah, you could still be mad at the fact that because, you know, a lot of these immigrants coming over know they're taking advantage and being exploitive.
Right.
But the real evil and, you know, very reprehensible actions lie in the fact of the Americans, you know, Americans who allowed this to take place. And those are the ones who need to be held responsible.
Mhm. You know, and that brings me to my next point, actually, where I've been saying for a couple months now on the channel in my videos when I get the opportunity that, you know, America has become the world's piggy bank. And I've made the point that, you know, when are any of our allies actually pitching into our defense? We're always pitching into the defense of other countries, you know, the big main two that we're funding right now. And Ben Shapiro's favorite country in Ukraine. And where's the return? Where's the payback? You know, we fund the majority of NATO, and right now we have multiple states in a natural disaster have declared emergency. And where's the NATO funds kicking in? Where is, you know, I'm hesitant to say where the, you know, the NATO soldiers coming in to help, because I don't really like welcoming foreign soldiers onto the land, but I would sure appreciate some of that funding to come back to America, because I've made the point that, you know, why isn't Ben Shapiro's favorite country finishing our border wall? Why aren't they funding, you know, any of the stuff that they could be funding in our defense in return? You know, we're always just funding them, you know, or whatever.
Right.
Even in the times where they're not, like pre-October 7th or 8th. I always, for some reason, mix those 2 days up. Whatever, pre-October 7th, Where were they, on the front end trying to help us? It's always we scratch your back and we'll also scratch our own back, and it's never you'll scratch our back. And I just find that disgraceful as the one paying the taxes, funding the piggy bank that is never ending, going out to these other countries for their defense, and it's just like, it'd really be nice to see, Ukraine, it's just unimaginable. Even the whole perspective is hard to imagine that any other country would step up and give us money for our defenses, or give us money for our citizens who are, suffering from a natural disaster or whatever that need it. I mean, a good opportunity was in Hawaii for our allies. You know what I mean? It's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and some of those countries are just as close as we are, or whatever. And I don't know. It's
Well,
just
especially the rhetoric, right? Our greatest ally. That refers to one specific country too. Do you consider your best friend someone who you always pay money to and loan out money to, but they never return the favor? Doesn't
right.
seem like a functioning relationship there. I
Right.
did
And
want
that
to
person
point out
always is the first one to talk crap on you the first time you say, "No, man, I can't. I don't got anything this time."
yeah. Well, I wanted to point out one of the comments here from just a guy, and I think that's going to relate to what this whistleblower report. And he says he expected FEMA to fail, but where is the NC state government? Why wasn't the National Guard immediately activated? The
Mhm.
governor has complete control of the National Guard. This is what they are for. Now, I showed on my screen, this is actually the whistleblower report that came out from FEMA, as well as a few other individuals. And this is from Greg Price. No. So it says breaking. FEMA whistleblowers have come forward alleging that the agency misappropriated funds in the wake of Helene, withheld pre-disaster aid, but the final portion here is that first responders and service members have been waiting in hotels without deployment orders. This is one that I've also seen multiple videos of. I even put one, I think that's actually just underneath the TikTok video we just watched of the individual. I can't remember his name. I think it's Hunter Wilson, of active duty soldiers, which I would imagine are probably a combination of Army and National Guard, who have all said they've just been sitting in hotels. They've not been getting any orders, and so there's nothing that they can really do because they're being told to just stand by. And PNW Gorilla, who is another really good follow, I would encourage people to follow him too. He's actually organizing support on his own end. He's been getting multiple texts because he runs a kind of like boot camp for men type of thing, where he goes, like, they call it wrecking, and that's where they carry a bunch of military equipment, and they'll kind of, they'll go across multiple different hikes. And he's received multiple texts from individuals who are in service, who are service members, who have also said the same thing, that they are intentionally being held in different areas and being told to stand by. And the one that really irritated me, extremely honestly, really irritated me, was one of the texts said that because of the rising tension amongst Beirut and Lebanon, two different areas, that they're not being deployed to Hurricane Helene because they need to be on standby in case they need to go to the Middle East. Once again, echoing everything that we've seen, not even just with the money, but now with these further on down actions of our government treating foreign entities, foreign countries, and any other conflict besides a civil conflict or domestic, catastrophic hurricane, as any means besides like a tertiary kind of priority, right? Like it's not even primary, it's not even secondary. It's like, I mean, if there's money left in the budget, we'll go and do it. And it's like this kind of attitude is going to, what I hope, and make me less black-pilled, will bring back a bit of that American spirit, which is we the people, we will not stand for tyranny, and maybe get more recognition. And people are kind of pointing out, like, all of Twitter and all of X here recently, it's just been a bunch of Fed posts because I've seen the sentiment change to going from, let's just do this with our votes. But when you see something that's egregious, and the people like with Hunter Wilson experiencing that, saying like, nah, like it's them versus us, like this is we're done.
Right. And we got this question here. Isn't the North Carolina governor a Democrat? I pulled up his Wikipedia. His name's Roy Cooper, and a member of the Democratic Party. He served as the 50th Attorney General of North Carolina. Okay, so yeah, he's definitely a Democrat. Big surprise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not shocking in the slightest. whatsoever.
Right. And then we got this one here from Wall Street Apes. Looks like he quoted the video. Let's just play this video here real quick.
Yep.
Sorry, my dogs are having fun barking. I hope that doesn't bother you guys. They're good girls.
By
So.
me.
So this is just
Let me oh, I did blow it up. Okay.
an add-on. It's an update of what's going on because people keep asking me what's going on. So we are doing rotation. I'm not in rotation, if that makes any sense. Or I'm rotated off, if that makes any sense. So like I'm supposed to be asleep, but I can't fucking sleep. That's the point. We are doing as we're told. We are doing the best.
Pause that real quick, just because that's basically what that guy just said. Everybody there that's witnessing this, that's going through it, that's trying to help, seems to not be able to sleep at night because they're witnessing the craziness. Just seems to it's becoming clear to me that that is like a common denominator from these folks.
Well,
And back to that
something
guy's-
I've seen.
Go
Why
ahead.
didn't mean to cut you off there. A couple of things that I've seen people have been wading some of these waters and not realizing that they are what the object that just brushed past their leg was a dead body. And he was referring to the helicopter thing. I can't remember where I was listening to. I think I was listening to some kind of podcast that I at least trust to some level, saying that this is no longer a rescue operation. This is a recovery operation. This is an operation to start beginning to recover as many dead bodies as possible to begin getting an idea of like, you know, how bad the damages are.
Right. And that made me wonder when the last guy was talking. He was talking about the helicopters going back and forth and in and out. And that's, you know, I'm proud of those guys that are working like that, you know, not even taking their helmets off and just, you know, ripping around the clock. But it made me wonder. You were talking about the log and all the folks that were on the, you know, stuck on the tree or whatever, all the bodies and things. And it makes me wonder if they've almost kind of made a initial assessment that there is very few or maybe nobody there to be saved. Just be speculating, but makes me wonder, you know what I mean, which would be completely devastating. I mean,
well, I mean, not even with that. I think we talked about this shortly before we went live. You know, you look at some of these parallels, right, between this and the immigration populations, right? When you look at some of the top states that have received a ridiculous overgrowth of immigration population, they are all swing states, right? It's like Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. And then when you see this, it's a bit easier because I'm going to apply malice rather than ignorance here. That they would once again be like, well, you know what? It wouldn't be so bad if we just decided, you know, we'll just halt the rescue efforts, right? Because obviously, if you were in power and you were a Democrat and you saw the recent polling of the elections, you'd go, hey, maybe we can swing the election by just not rescuing people in these areas. Now, I know it's a disturbing thought to come to, and it's one that kind of puts a lot of malice behind the intentions of what's going on. But to me, with the preponderance of evidence that I've seen, I really can't reach any other conclusion besides that.
yeah, that's crazy. Dang. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and play this. Sorry, I'm going to go back just a little bit.
In rotation. I'm not in rotation, if that makes any sense. Or I'm rotated off, if that makes any sense. So like I'm supposed to be asleep, but I can't fucking sleep. That's the point. We are doing as we're told. We are doing the best that we can. People are like, oh, why don't y'all just use mules, this, that, and the third? We are talking about the government, okay? Like, moment of silence. We're talking about the government. I need y'all to open your minds and use your brain. There are certain things we can and cannot do. And I'm not frustrated with you. I'm just frustrated with the situation in general because I feel like a lot of people are getting a lot of misinformation. Lake Lure is not, we cannot get to Lake Lure with the Humvees. We cannot get to Lake Lure with the Humvees because one, there's mudslides. Two, there's like, I think landslides. Three, we can't even fit. Four, like it's cut off. It's all just rubble. There's no way to get there other than on foot or flying. They're not going to let us go on foot. They're not going to. I don't know why. They're just, listen, I'm literally learning shit and I'm telling y'all or trying to tell y'all because I can't even fucking tell y'all everything. People are asking why don't we use animals or four-wheelers and stuff like that. They have to approve of whatever that is. They have to approve it before we're able to do it. Does that make any sense? If they don't approve it, we cannot do it.
Right. Something that another recurring thing. But you know, I mean, loading up horses, can a horse really? What can a horse do trying to get through that? You know what I mean? If a guy says that dirt bikes and four wheelers can't get through there, I don't understand like what a horse could do that a dirt bike couldn't, or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Then again, I know I sound aggressive, but I am frustrated with y'all, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to level with you. So just hear me out. We have been giving food and water out. We have been helping people, this, that, and the third. We're doing whatever we can. Because what y'all don't know is there's a chain of command. We can only do so much that we can only do what we're allowed to do. Does that make any sense? Like if we get all the way up here and they're like, no, you can't do it. We're back at square one, 0. We can't do it. So I think y'all need to understand that we're only doing what we're allowed to do and what we're told to do. We cannot do anything other than that. Or the consequences will vary. I understand that North Carolina and everywhere is upset with us. I get it. There's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing I can do. I hear you. I hear your frustration. I get it. Also, people are saying civilians are doing this, that, and the third. You can do whatever you want because you're a civilian. We have to answer to someone. I'm sorry. We have to answer to someone. So civilians, yes, they can do whatever they want to do. And if they want to drive there or mess up their car or get stuck in a landslide and we have to go help them or save them, then they can do so. Okay. That's your right. You can do whatever you want to do. But when I have this uniform on, we can only do so much. Does that make any sense? I hope I'm making sense. But yeah,
It doesn't make sense, but I understand what she's saying.
What I'm getting from it is I think that she's probably getting a lot of flack because people probably know that she's in the military and probably runs a more, somewhat, populated account on TikTok or wherever she's posting this video.
Mhm.
So she's probably getting a lot of people being like, so what are you doing? Like, why are you just like in your car making videos? Simple kind of comments like that is probably bothering her to a degree. But she said the quiet part out loud, right? That they're just not being allowed to go do certain things. And for what these means or reasons are, no one can seem to quantify or understand, especially when you do see, TNT Cycles is saying that he saw a dude on a horse with a beard and 15-pack mules going there. I even saw an NPO organization that was all wearing light blue reflective material who decided to go hike to go to a specific location, wearing backpacks and had rope and hiking gear, similar to what we saw Corey Mills have with that Glenn Beck video we started with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, at a certain point, I think if you were in that position, right, and maybe less so for her in particular, but maybe say you're at some point where you can understand why you're not being sent out there. For me personally, if I felt the conviction in which that reason wasn't good enough, I'd turn my fatigues in right there and be like, here's my badge.
Right.
Here's my name tag. Keep it. I'm never coming back. Dishonorably discharge me. Don't care. But I can't sit by and stand here and sit in the AC while you guys refuse to go help people for whatever reason. Like I couldn't support that. And that's just me talking.
Right. I think that's what that last guy was feeling too. He was like, I feel bad being here going to sleep, which I mean, you have to get some rest in order to help out people the next day. But when you're caught up in it and all you want to do is help,
right.
Like he said, it's hard to sleep. You can't not look at his phone and get the next update or whatever. And I wonder how difficult these, suppliers that are giving out this stuff have. I wonder how difficult it is for a person that says, hey, give me as much bottled water and Spam or whatever that I can carry in these 3 backpacks that I can carry on my back. I'm going to hike up there and do it myself. And they're like, nah, you're just going to take it off of yourself and take it all home or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just coming up with stuff like that, you got to think it's even hard for them. And that's probably why they're telling people to not come and not try to help and stuff, because or like she said, you could get stuck in something or whatever. And that's kind of just a cop out, really, honestly, in my opinion. If folks want to go and put themselves at risk and force potential rescue effort, then it is what it is. The government should be willing to support us. You know what I mean?
Well, right. Hear how it sounds. The military is like, we're not going to take that risk. But if the civilians want to, like, feel free, go ahead. We won't stop you. I mean,
and what a shame
they are stopping people.
And what a shame, you see the war movies where they're like, we're not going home without bringing this guy's body back with us, even if he's not alive. We're gonna go on a mission across, put all of our lives on the line so we can get this dude and bring his body back home to his family or whatever. And then here we are,
100%.
Americans in America with like such a soft perspective, you know, and I'm comparing Hollywood, but I feel like that is a real a military mentality. And we've lost kind of that grit across our military, you know, and that's partially because a lot of people are enlisting in the military as a means to an end, whether to get their schooling paid for or their transition paid for or whatever, you know, they've softened it up so much that it definitely is hurting on the front end now.
Get some kind of signing bonus. Make sure you get your Ford Mustang.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it brings me to this other point where sorry, I've been skipping over some chats, but it brings me to this other point where it comes to preventative measures. You know, like I know it's mountainous and there's only so much you can do, but I know if they had planted more trees or if they had, like, I've driven through the mountains in Colorado a couple times, and there's this I think it's like a caterpillar that will literally, it's like some type of bug that will literally get into the pine trees and they'll destroy like entire mountainsides, like the whole side of a mountain. Like they'll just be dead trees. And then that tree eventually, or that mountain becomes a total fire hazard because it's all dead wood and kindling. But at the same time, their root system it begins decomposing because it's not alive. So it becomes decomposing under the earth. And then, you know, if a heavy rain comes through, then you get these mudslides and stuff like that. Moth larva. Okay, they're a TNT cycle. And so it's part of their just regular upkeep to actually go through and clear these mountainsides and make sure that the trees are planted and that they're alive, essentially, to prevent, as a preventative measure, you know. And so it makes me wonder where corners being cut by this Democrat governor there. Was it something that's longstanding and they just weren't willing to address it or whatever? You know what I mean? But it's like, what could have been done as a preventative measure on the front end to maybe prevent some of these roads from being blocked off, especially if they're so important to entire communities. You know, I don't care how small the community is, but just crazy, you know. And when I think about it now, you drive through the mountains there in Colorado, there's a lot of communities that actually like congregate in the valleys. Like there'll be the highway driving, and then you'll be like between two mountains, and the highway is, you go in each direction, and then between the highway is like a town. It might be a little bitty town, but if everything runs off, boom, that town is just buried. And, you know, I don't think that's maybe some of the situation that's going on there, but I don't know. I think there should be some accountability, you know, when this is all clear, you know, when the smoke clears or whatever. I think some people might need to be held accountable as far as preventative measures going on, you know, because apparently those areas get hurricanes and large amounts of water, and this should be something that has been, you know, taken care of, you know, at least somewhat in the front end.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you think about it too, like you know, one of the things I even forgot about was I believe the people of North Carolina only got like a 3-hour evacuation notice before everything started happening. And again, that speaks to, again, everything you just said, where are all the fail safes, right? Like there was no way to tell like it was going to like really hit the fan, you know, until 3 hours before. It was like, and then you are responsible for a lot of these lives that were lost because it's not nearly enough time for evacuatory, you know, measures. Think about somebody who, you know, has an oxygen tank, right? And what if they got the notice while their last oxygen tank was on like 2%? And they didn't have enough time to charge anything else. You know, thinking about people with the insulin, right? You lose the power for that long, no way to get it. Diabetics probably are ones that have probably passed away and having trouble with their blood sugar, being stuck and stranded out in different areas like that. It's, and you know, DNC cycles, right? But bro, Ukraine and stuff. And you know, and that's when, you know, I think about that Lindsey Graham clip where they're talking like, well, what do you think about, you know, what happened with these residents here and here? And he's like, well, yeah, I saw a lot of homeless people walking around, but man, Israel. And you could just see like the passion light up. And it's like, you know, maybe we should,
evil spirit in his eyes flare up.
Yeah. But can we maybe at a certain point in America, we can start electing people who don't hate Americans or America or anything that it stands for. But again, you know, that goes to a whole wide range of things of like This is why it's important to pay attention. That's why it's important to like not abdicate and outsource all of the thinking of these situations to everyone else, because when stuff like this does happen and you are on your own, like, do you really think like you'll be prepared in any meaningful way? You know, and I'm somebody who thinks about this all the time, and even I sit here and I'm like, if there's a flood that came through here, it's like, I don't know. You know, like I don't know, like maybe it is just a big like luck of the draw. Like maybe that's just by chance, you know, things kind of luck out. It's just kind of scary thoughts too, but you compare that with, not compare it, but you combine it with the incompetence and what I would say maliciousness. It's like I want to see people tried and put in prison for some of this stuff, especially
Yeah.
if we do get more information regarding like the withholding of donations, or even the outright confiscation of donations. And that's one thing we haven't even touched on really. What I've seen multiple reports of too, in different videos that have went viral on X and TikTok and other platforms, of people saying that they were confiscating donations and resourcing them to migrants. One of them was like literally that they took from Tennessee. A Tennessee high school donation group was all rerouted to a migrant shelter instead of the people who were suffering, who it was
Oh, wow.
originally meant for. And so you get some of this, and it's like, are you trying to make people hate migrants? Like, is that the goal of what this is? And, you know, and it speaks to an earlier comment where she said, like, you know, I saw a video of this person celebrating that they got their EBT card when they're an illegal migrant, but then the next video is someone crying about what's happening in the hurricane. And that speaks to the 5th generational warfare and what TikTok does to drive sentiments, right? It's like, let's send three videos of this terrible, terrible stuff happening in the hurricane, and then boop, the 4th one is a Haitian celebrating because they got a free prepaid card and don't have to pay rent. And that's the kind of stuff where it's not blatantly expressed, but the implication there that you would feel after you watched them in that kind of sequence would be, I don't like this immigrant person, right? It's like that's what this 5th generational warfare is. It's
You hold like
psychological,
just a
subliminal.
natural animosity. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's not that I hate this person. It's just like I just I have this animosity towards them because I don't like seeing them. Because you just reminded me, I saw a video just this afternoon. It was somebody interviewing 2 Hispanic ladies that outside like on a New York street, and they had been basically living rent free in a 5-star hotel, receiving money, and they're like, he's like, do you pay for rent? And they're like, oh no, and it's just like, are you serious? How are you gonna like? I don't know. Just
Yeah.
no shame for those folks. You can combined with you know, like one person said they've been living there since July. The other person said it's been longer than that. And it's just like, come on. You're just going to stay in that scenario. You're not even going to try to integrate, you know, and then meanwhile, we have this situation here. And I see TNT Psycho said Lindsay is a disgrace more than I ever realized. I agree too. I feel shameful that I ever defended the guy in any manner, even if it was in a group chat or anything. The dude is just a complete evil warmonger, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and to speak to that video you were just talking about with them, you know, being kind of shameless towards it. Think about the technocracy they're in, and what kind of, you know, mainstream echo chamber they're in. They're getting cheered on by Democrats. They're like, whoa, like it's the best thing that you guys are here, right? And so like they're like, yeah, like we're thankful the government's doing this for us. Because like if they're not getting the full picture, or really, you know, maybe they don't even have the capacity to understand that they're taking advantage of other people because of what the government's doing for them, they might not see it that way. So it really does come off as shameless because they're built into some kind of technocratic, you know, echo chamber.
Right. I know where actually to find that video. I'm going to see if I can find it real fast. Oh, of course, it's not at the top. Vigilant Fox posted it. It was part of the 10 things you need to know. Oh man,
10
that's
things
he
that will make you
he
angry.
tweets a lot of stuff. There it is. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. I'll pull that up. Because that was here it is right here. Oh, that's why I opted out of playing earlier, because it's all you got to read through. But I'll read it. Put it up here. Make it bigger.
Oh, because they're speaking Spanish.
Yeah. But here, I'll go ahead and play it. And by the way, hi Lark Bark. Appreciate you stopping in here.
¿Y por cuánto tiempo han estado quedándose aquí en Aurora?
Said, how long have you been staying here at the Row Hotel?
Han estado quedándose aquí en Aurora Hotel.
Desde que llegué
Since I arrived in July
en julio,
for her.
¿Cuántos meses es eso?
como 7 meses.
Y
7 months. Oh, so maybe this is last July. Okay. So maybe this was they're wearing winter coats. Okay, so even longer than this last July. This was a year ago, July.
y han tenido que pagar alquiler.
Have you had to pay rent? She goes, no, nothing. I haven't paid anything.
No, nada. No he pagado nada.
Es 100% gratis.
Sí.
100% free,
Y le
yes.
dan almuerzo, desayuno.
And they give you lunch and breakfast? Yes.
Sí, le dan como...
And she's saying, and they give child personal items, diapers, whatever he needs.
Niños personales, nos dan pañales, lo que necesiten ellos.
Y ahí en el hotel
In the hotel, do they clean the rooms?
hacen limpieza de las cuartos.
Sí, hacen.
Yes, every day they clean. I mean, this should piss off every single parent across the country. I don't understand why anybody could vote for Democrats after seeing this open invasion and wasting. I didn't say wasting, but just, I'm not against children receiving care that they need or whatever, but they should be receiving this in their own country and working for it, just like everybody else in America does.
Right.
Todos los días hacen limpieza, cambian las sábanas.
They change the bed sheets. Every day they do that.
todos
Yes,
los días.
every day.
¿Han podido
Have you been able to get a job?
conseguir trabajo ustedes?
No.
No, not me, no. And of course, I mean, something to mention here is that these folks are speaking Spanish. They've been here for months, 7 months. I mean, shouldn't it be a priority to learn English if you're going to move, or learn English if you're moving to America, learn French if you're moving to France, insert country.
Well, you don't want to be racist, though.
Well, I mean, just if you're trying to do anything within society and communicate with people, you got to at least know the language. But instead, it's there's no integration at all. We want to go there and bring, if they're from Mexico, we'll bring Mexico to the United States and set up in the Row Hotel, and that it'll just be Mexico Row Hotel.
Yeah, little Mexico.
Si ustedes tuvieran
If you had a medical
un
problem,
problema de medicina, ¿cómo podrían
how would you
recibir
receive
ayuda con
help?
eso?
Bueno,
She says, well, with
con una tarjeta, la del seguro de
the medical insurance, Medicare,
Y nosotros tenemos la Metro Plus.
we
y
have the
eso
Metro
nos da
Plus, and that
seguro que
covers the
nosotros
children's
necesitamos para los
needs.
niños también. Nosotros
We also have
no
benefits from that.
Se sintieron
Another reason to be pissed off. I haven't had health insurance in a decade.
No, right, same. And that Metro Plus is an actual that's a state it's a state funded insurance program that's meant to help for childcare needs from birth.
Okay. So he says, did you feel supported thanks to our president?
apoyados gracias a nuestro presidente Joe Biden.
Bueno, sí.
Well, yes,
Sí,
yes.
porque
Because
si no
we aren't
estamos
working or
trabajando ni
anything,
nada, él es el que nos está ayudando
and he's the one helping us. So the next question I would ask is, if they gave you the ability to vote, who would you vote for? You know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Outright, paying for votes. You want to put it in that light, that it's like bribery.
Yeah,
I mean, literally with financial means, but with obviously other things too, just to induce them to continue to get their power.
Right. Abigail Shepard here said, not only do they get everything, they don't have to work. It's beyond infuriating. My husband and I got denied Medicaid, even though we qualify, probably because illegals get it instead. Yeah, they didn't have the funds for you. They prioritized the people that make zero over the people that qualify but still make more.
It's the great replacement, right?
Yeah. And that's not, as the Democrats would frame it, that white people are being replaced. It's everybody in America is being replaced. Put on,
It's well, and it goes back to what you said too, right? Like there's no incentive for them to assimilate, no incentive for them to speak English. And why would they when the party that brought them in and cheered them on as they crossed the border heralds how evil America is, and how how we must turn away from all of these things that America is. And actually, Mexican culture is better. Haitian culture is better. And it's it's so obvious to those, I think, who can see it, and it kind of baffles me how many others can't. But again, it's the same light of this TikTok of those girls who are cheering on and being giddy about the individuals passing away in the hurricane in the areas that it's affected, is because things have gotten to such a tribal point that this is the level of tension that we have.
Yeah, exactly. So then I got this one here. I guess the person goes nameless. But it says, just got down from the mountains delivering supplies. Families with kids haven't ate or had water in 3 days before I got there. Multiple counties completely shut off from the utility, from every utility. FEMA is currently confiscating donations and blocking volunteers. I fear we might need a militia to inhibit or stop FEMA. This is what they're saying in the post here. YouTube. As crazy as
in Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft. This is for a video game. So, anyways, as crazy as it sounds, FEMA is directly confiscating donated items and blocking volunteers from helping, kicking churches out of parking lots, etc. And I don't get it. I mean, I don't know. I don't see FEMA out here saying and defending themselves, saying, "Hey, look, we're taking these supplies from these people because we're throwing it on helicopters and flying it to them." You know what I mean? They could at least, allegedly, TNT Cycles think. That'd be different. That would be something where it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. FEMA's trying to get as much stuff on these helicopters as possible, but FEMA's not taking that position. You don't see it anywhere.
Right. Well, I mean, this is similar to what they did with the Springfield, right? With eating the cats and the dogs. We had how many individual reports, people protesting, all these people making their own videos saying like, dude, I've seen it happen. This happened to this. I haven't seen my cat. And then the mainstream media goes, well, you wouldn't believe those people over the experts, would you? And it just echoes the same kind of rhetoric from COVID, right?
Experts. Exactly. Right. And when it comes to what that guy said that earlier, that Biden did a flyby, didn't stop in, didn't do anything, which who knows if he really even did the flyby. It was just a jet flying overhead as far as everybody's concerned. Who knows if he's even in it or on it. And meanwhile, Trump stops in, he talks to the people, and that goes to what you just said there with what's going on in Springfield, Ohio, with in regards to the cats and stuff. And everybody wants to say that Trump lost the debate because he mentioned the cats and dogs. And it's actually, in my opinion, that was Trump listening to the people. He was actually listening to the local people who are the best source. Now, whether those people are lying or not, that's on them. But when it comes to Trump saying, hey, look, I'm hearing from the local people that are telling me this, and then he repeats it, that's a good thing. That is what a presidential leader, a governor, a representative is supposed to do. They're supposed to listen to the people, magnify that voice, and take it to the highest levels to try to get something done about it.
Well, I want to make people even more mad. I just shared a new tab in the share room there. This is what Kamala Harris was doing in this meantime. Kamala, and this is reportedly, but it's been confirmed since this post was made. She did a pre-recorded episode with Call Her Daddy, which is the #1 podcast for women, which is all about, I think their top things are like how to conceal your not family friendly, but so forgive me, like how to be a slut and then still be wifed up. This is where, the coined term of like the Glock 3000 came from. Extremely degenerate podcast. This is where Kamala Harris was at. So this was pre-recorded 2 days ago, and Kamala Harris did an explicit episode with the interview while all of this is going on. So while you have the former President Trump and Elon Musk and all of those who exist in the high sphere trying to do as much as they can to shed light on these things, Kamala Harris is doing a absurd podcast talking about the most unimportant, non-priorital things that she
non-presidential,
right. And exactly, I echo what Johnny Magus says here. This should be career ending. That alone, that kind of response, that kind of lack of awareness, which even if you could say it's that, maybe this is intentional, like I keep thinking. Career
Mhm.
ending. No way that this woman should ever be in any capacity of authority, let alone the president, right? This woman does not need to be in any position of power. Immediately get her out of politics.
Well, she wants to be president. She is the vice president, and everybody knows Biden's, absentee, mailing it in. This is her opportunity to really get out there ahead of an issue and really take the lead and act like a president should, act like somebody that cares. And instead, it's exactly to your point, and she's on Call Her Daddy podcast and reminiscing about the good old days about when she was getting paid six figures to do two, like she's her one of her first jobs that she was given by the California, I can't remember what his name was, the guy that she, got her into politics and basically
Joe Brown.
No, it wasn't Joe Brown. It was the guy that I don't know, I can't think of his name.
Oh, it's like Monty something, right?
But he was a California politician, and he's the one that got her into this stuff. And basically, one of the first jobs she had, she was required to do 2 meetings per month. She made a 6-figure income, and she wouldn't even show up to the meetings. You know what I mean? So she's got this long track record of failing. Willie Brown, thank you.
Yeah, Willie Brown.
Bobby Brown, Willie Brown, Judge Joe Brown. Yeah. She's got this long track record of failing upward. Montel Williams, yes. And so it's a shame that she's never excelled at any of her positions, even though she wants to act like she's this big prosecutor that did a really good job. She, like I was saying, she just her whole career she's failed upwards, and finally she's gifted this opportunity. Natural disaster. It's not like trying to rescue from a war that they got us into, and there's some like negative connotation that comes with it on the front end. Really, it's just a natural disaster, and all conspiracy theories aside, as far as controlling the weather and whatever, you know what I mean. Really has the opportunity to spend this last month in North Carolina, saying, "I'm here for you. We're going to get you everything we need." That would actually be, in my opinion, a really good way to go down the home stretch into a presidential election. Would be to be on the ground and really just take the lead and just answer questions every day. A lot like what Trump did for COVID. I mean, he was on TV 2 hours a day, giving everybody updates with Fauci and Dr. Burke and Mike Pence all right there, standing behind him. He'd give them the mic, let them talk. She should be doing that right now. She should be saying, here I have the leader of FEMA. Here I have the leader of the National Guard. Here's the governor. We're all out here working nonstop, trying to make sure. And, she needs to leave the $750 belt and this $800 earrings and $63,000 necklace at home, show up in some jeans and a t-shirt and be like, we're in the trenches with you, America. That would send such a huge message to potential voters all the way across the country. You're not just trying to win people over. It wouldn't just win people over locally. It would win people over across the country. Maybe I should shut up because I don't want to help her. But I mean, the reason I'm saying is because I don't believe she would ever do this. And
no.
And it's not like she doesn't have time. You just said she went on this stupid horror podcast, and so
right.
Instead of doing that,
but really though,
show up with some dirty pants, some muddy pants that looks like you've actually been out there, some dirty gloves hanging out of your pocket because you've been wearing work gloves, moving stuff or whatever, loading some waters onto, and really say, I'm in it for you, America. This is who you get when you elect me. And instead, nah.
I mean, well, she's playing to her base, right? And I'm sure you're familiar with the stat that showed that abortion is up and by far the most important issue to Democrats this election. So of course she goes on this podcast that does, that speaks completely to that, right? Finding 110 different ways a woman can avoid accountability for wanting to open her legs to however many number of random men to avoid consequences. Maybe that's what her base wants, right? Maybe it would actually hurt her if she was to go into rural areas, right, where it's majority white, and she goes and helps these people. Her base is like, oh no, like, why are you helping those people? It's nothing really shocks me anymore. You know, I'm not even shocked to see that happened. But you know, it just shows you how we don't live in a patriarchy or a patriarchal society by any means, whether it's in the primary form or in any other kind of meaningful exhibition. Because and you can probably relate to this too. How many times do you see on your X for you page of people complaining about, oh, the whatever podcast is so mean to women, oh, the Fresh and Fit podcast is so mean to women. I don't see a whisper about Call Her Daddy, and that's the number one leading, you know, female podcast. It just shows you how things are so inverted. But the gaslighting is always going to be there. It's a primary mechanism of shutting down conversation. And you know, I just come to the realization, you know, maybe I'm being a little too harsh here, but I do find that they are just the party of evil, right? They are the party of that is entirely against children being not sacrificed for convenience or selfish purposes.
Time after
They're the
time.
party for right time and again, and they're the party for being anti-white. They're the party for being anti-America. They're the party for being anti anything that this country stands for, which it doesn't stand for much anymore. It's just, you know, I guess I'm coming from a viewpoint that's been in politics for a while. And so some of these things get to a point where they begin to be a lot more abrasive than I think if the average person just like steps into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had a realization I could have put my StreamYard on the screen in front of me instead of looking over to the side the whole time.
Next time.
But yeah, it's I mean, time after time, it's them, the things they support, their willingness to lie to the people, willingness to lie right to your face, to lie to the people that they're trying to earn votes from. And you know, it can only be explained to me as an evil spirit, an evil, you know, not spirit inside of them. You know what I mean? Not like some floating evil spirit that's casting over, but maybe that is too. You know, I don't know.
Some
Certainly,
necromancers casting spells.
yeah.
Oh my God, Kamala.
And the spirit inside comes from an evil place, a self-serving place, and they just lack the compassion to, and the capacity to want to help others at their own expense. You know, it's funny. I go on this rant saying that Kamal could be out there and it'd be a great last month, and meanwhile Trump's not doing that either. But you know, Trump, people that support Trump, like Elon Musk, they are pitching in. You know, they have their own funds. Elon Musk is trying to send Starlink to all these folks for free, trying to make sure that they have the ability to. And that's one thing that he did to Ukraine at the beginning of the war. And you know, they didn't have any problem with Elon Musk sending Starlink into Ukraine, but they have issues with Elon Musk trying to get Starlink to Americans in America. It's you know, ironically shameful. You know what I mean? It's disgraceful. And I just can't understand why. Like I said earlier, I just can't understand how anybody could vote for a Democrat at this phase, because I mean, well, what's in it for you? You know what I mean?
Right.
If something like this happens in your neighborhood, this is a representation of how they're going to treat anyone. And you know, I'm thankful to have to live in Florida and have a good governor that, like, you know, I mentioned earlier on, that he's actually put a plan in place to prepare and have us on a scenario where even if we get hit by this next hurricane in a couple of weeks or in a couple of days, which we will, maybe not my house directly, but hopefully not. Florida's looking like it's going to get hit by 2 big hurricanes pretty much within a 2-week span. And Ron DeSantis knows that, and he has the foresight to know that. And he still can do the calculations and say, look, we still have resources that we can send to North Carolina right now. We still have resources that we can send to Georgia. So I feel good living here and knowing that at least my governor is going to be on the lookout for me, even if the federal government's going to fall short, which is a reason why we need to not only vote in presidential elections, but we need to vote for good candidates that are going to represent us within our own states. You know what I mean? From the governor's perspective, from a mayoral perspective, just even the representatives that we send in Congress and stuff like that. I mean, local elections matter a whole lot, and the presidential election isn't nearly as impactful on your daily life Just to be honest with you, I learned that a lot during COVID too, having DeSantis down here and enjoying my freedoms, and watching other states like California and New York be basically locked down, arresting surfers who were out there by themselves on the ocean. I think they arrested a kid in New York that was at a restaurant, so he wouldn't put a mask on, all that type of stuff. Hey, BK, appreciate that. That's awesome. You might, if you don't mind, at the same time when the stream is over, go check out Atlas Thug's channel. He's getting really close to the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a big milestone here on YouTube. So you might check him out too. He goes live more often than we do. We just do the show on Saturdays. But
yeah, here lately I've been behind the eight ball. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get back to doing normal production, but people might not be aware, but I've just got done doing a licensing insurance program. So I'm doing like onboarding and stuff right now and passed an exam. I did pass, by the way. So finally got past that stage.
Good news.
Yeah, no. So I've just been super busy, but yeah, definitely check me out. We got a good backlog of things too. I try to keep things very, very on pace and organized and scheduled.
Awesome.
Get
And yeah,
big
BK, that's cool. I've been getting a lot of people from Australia. That's pretty cool. I like you guys over there. But let's see. Well, we're 7 minutes over time. Do we have any one-offs that we want to show real quick that entertaining fun? We still didn't even get to a lot of the stuff, but
No, I did have a little story I wanted to share, just like super short.
Do that.
Not even a personal story. Well, I guess kind of personal story. People might not be aware, but I do like a lot of like the horror game genre and things of that nature. And one thing that kind of stuck out to me that I think has, parallels, also thank you, TNT, that has parallels to what we were talking about earlier, right? Which is like not understanding why people are like still voting for Kamala despite all of these things. And it was a dystopian kind of in the future game, right? So this game, the short story is that the sun became overwhelmingly hot. And so people had to reverse roles, right? So they had to go outside during the night, you had to stay inside during the day. It was a kind of a weird time there. But somebody comes to the person's door at a certain point, and he's crazy, right? He's kind of like a bit psychotic on a manic episode. And he was like, "Isn't it great?" And the guy's like, "What are you talking about? This is insane." And the guy was like, "We don't have to pretend anymore." He's like, "Things are so bad that like I don't have to pretend that I like these people anymore. Like I always hated these people. I always hated that person. Like I don't have to act like I care about opening the door for you. I don't have to care about like I have to, care for your needs or whatever." And so I think, kind of pairing that with the animosity that we can all feel under the surface when it comes to these elections, and just you can see it in tidbits with like these TikToks where people kind of just really let loose on how they feel about, specific demographics and stuff. I feel like we might rapidly be approaching that point where people who hold all of their kind of internal beliefs, but kind of parade around this front on the surface to, keep their P's and Q's in check. That's the way I kind of feel about a lot of these things, right? It makes me feel like under the surface, there's some kind of truer, darker sentiment that people hold. And that's what drives their willingness to watch America burn. And that's just what I wanted to share, kind of like just seeing a guy say like, "I don't have to pretend anymore." And imagine seeing Kamala winning in the election and her first sentence goes, "Okay, I don't have to pretend anymore. Let's start doing this and this and this." And then next thing you know, we are living in a shell, or let alone, something we never would call America.
Right. We're, being forced to comply with the mandatory gun buyback, for instance. Things like that, where that really challenges people's beliefs to the core. Nothing that I want to have a part of. I can tell you that. I would be more prone to be the guy out there saying, "Hey, I'll buy your gun instead," like Brandon Herrera. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where they do the gun buybacks, not mandatory, but they do the buybacks, and folks line up in their cars. Like, I don't know why so many people have guns they don't want, but he's sitting there and he's like, "Hey, sell it to me instead." He's holding a sign up outside, "I'll buy your gun instead." And he ends up buying, a good handful every time that I've seen his videos. But he's another one that sucks that he almost won his election attempt there in Texas earlier this year.
He lost by like 30 votes or something like that.
Yeah, it was something real close. It's unfortunate too, because I like that guy. But yeah, I'd be more inclined to be that person. But then if it was a mandatory buyback, you're gonna get locked up trying to do some stuff like that. So then, like you said, like you're saying, like I was saying, it kind of challenges you to the core in your beliefs of compliance, or I don't gotta care anymore. I don't have to show up. I don't have to pretend that I care anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sock. I used to
love the
have guns,
comments.
but I lost them all in a tragic boating accident a few months ago. So I'm all out. But yes, TNT lost all his in a tragic cane accident. What's a cane accident?
Don't know. Just means you don't got no
Oh,
guns.
hurricane. Right, hurricane. Yeah, yeah, same thing. Yeah. Actually, just last week they all came through and they're ruined.
Oh no, officer! I would never own a gun. Those
It's
are very
official.
dangerous.
I got it recorded. Canoe. Oh, canoe. Okay.
Okay. It's a boat.
Yeah. So people know what he's talking about. Put that on screen. But yeah, that's funny. But yeah, it's just to your point. Just speaking to your point, because I think that's actually what a lot of people are actually coming to. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in North Carolina don't give a crap about politics or being politically correct or any of that stuff. They're willing to help, accept the help from anybody that's willing to bring it, and they're not trying to hear the bull crap regardless of who's trying to give them the crap. You know what I mean? Like I said earlier, those guys that were like, no, you can't stop us. We're going in here and we're gonna help these people. We got the supplies and we're going in. You got to make us, you want to arrest us and get a news story about that, go ahead.
Right. That's the real American spirit.
Right. Just being on like the America First perspective, the Trump supporter perspective, it's kind of like 8-10 years ago, being called a racist, being called a fascist, being called a homophobe or whatever. I'm saying all the things, right? Was something that you did not want. You know what I mean? If it was on social media about you, you were worried about your career, worried about all this stuff. But like, it's one of those boy who cried wolf type scenarios, in my opinion, where like, fine,
mm-hmm.
I understand where you're coming from now, and your point of view is so skewed that I don't care if you think that I'm any of those things. You know what I mean? I don't even have to care what you think, because I'm secure in my own beliefs. And I think that's actually kind of trending more towards that scenario even today.
I mean, when you get to the point where Newsweek article says, is trying to be not racist? Yes, here's why. And it's like, dude, okay. Like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. No, now you've made it so no one cares anymore.
Right.
Like, we're done.
What's funny, I think it was like a scary movie or one of those like spoof movies years ago where they're like, it was a black guy and he was going like, it's reverse racism. See, they're being extra nice to me. And or whatever. I can't remember what movie it was, but it was just so funny. And
I was supposed to die first.
Right. It was funny. It was like at a restaurant or whatever. And he's like, they're being extra nice to me. It's like they're trying not to be racist to the point where, it almost is racist again. To your point there. It's pretty funny. It's like, if you see the way a person looks or you don't. I grew up in that post Martin Luther King era. Where we judge people by the content of their character first and foremost. And, that's just the way that I was raised. And I think that's a lot of people, maybe Gen X and younger probably maybe where it started to switch. It seems like everybody kind of has like grumpy old grandparents or whatever, or at least did, or, you know what I mean? That were just more willing to say certain words that are not repeated as much today.
Right.
You just see the
changing with
stereotypes
Gen
it
Z.
shows. I'm not, and I'm not actually even speaking from experience. I'm just talking about from like the movies you see and stuff, like stereotypes and whatever. But I don't think we had any one-offs. We should probably go ahead and wrap it up. We're 15 minutes over, so which or not like the I just made a video actually a couple weeks ago where these two interviewers were talking to Matt Walsh, and he was basically schooling them, and she starts going in her ear like, "Yeah, they're telling us to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up, and we're at time limit." And it's just like, Hold up. What do you mean? You guys run a show. I mean, if you're having a good debate and people are watching, why would you cut it off unless you're getting schooled? And so that was really what was going on. So we're not under a time limit. We're not under a time limit, but I think we talked 2+ hours about this stuff, and we could probably go a lot longer. But at this point, we'll just go ahead and call it. Got anything final you want to say?
No, only thing I think we didn't hit was Vivek might possibly run for governor for Ohio. So for all the people who are in Ohio, a good step up from having Mike DeWine. But no, I'll just echo. I'll shout out my socials. If you enjoy what I say, or you enjoy, the more Christian, I guess, oriented, Christian nationalist oriented perspective I try to bring, you can find me at Atlas Thugged on YouTube, and then on X I'm at Atlas_Thugged_. But they're all kind of linked together. You can find them through the different kind of bio pages and stuff like that. But I appreciate everybody for being in here.
Right. And then I'm America First TV. Put out a couple videos a day. And really trying to kick it into high gear. I want to pass Francesca Fiorentini's YouTube channel. It's at 90,000 subscribers. I don't understand how this woman has 90,000 subscribers to her channel, but I'm almost at 22,000, so I'm a little bit of ways out, but I have a goal, and I appreciate you guys watching. It's been fun talking to TNT Cycles. It's a stock. Abigail Mitchell, I think that's the name. Yeah, at Shepherd, Abigail Shepherd. Who else was here? Lark Bark. I think there was another one too. But
just a guy.
Yeah, BK. Thanks for the sub. Just a guy. You guys, the chat makes this experience for us much more fun. So, anyways, we'll be back next Saturday, and unless it's like, I'll be real with you, if it's like Game 7 of the Royals versus Yankees, I might want to watch the baseball game. So you got your Yankees hat on. I got my Royals hat on. The Yankees just beat us by 1 run. It just ended like 20 minutes ago. So anyways,
yes, sir.
It's been fun. You guys have a good week. We'll see you guys next Saturday.
Yep. Peace out, y'all.
Let's roll rolling Atlas Thugged. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thugged. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thugged, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Thugged, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.